Promise Mascot Agency is an open-world business management simulator, which is not the sexiest elevator pitch for a game, and that's probably a big part of why I didn't play it for so long, despite getting it pretty soon after it came out. But playing the game is a lot more enjoyable than that description makes it sound, so let me try to convey to you how that feels, and you'll probably be able to decide if it's actually something you'd like pretty quickly. Alright, here it goes. If you're over the age of 30, you probably get the point. For me, the majority of my time in this game was spent in an almost meditative haze of driving around and listening to some music with one eye on the mini-map for collectibles. It was a very cozy experience with a hint of more mature themes in the story and a really goofy sense of humor. Maybe that's all you need to know if you want to give it a try. But if you want to stick around to hear more about the game, I'll try to avoid spoilers. PMA is what you'd get if you took the driving part of Vice City and several of the broad story beats of Vice City and the property management system of Vice City and set those things in a dying Japanese town in an alternate version of our own world where humans live in harmony with freakish, disgusting monsters called mascots. Don't let the cutesy art style fool you. This isn't a game targeted at children. I'm sure a child could play it, but it is a Yakuza story, so of course its writing is full of the standard organized crime tropes of violence, drugs, extortion. You get the idea. But those things come up in dialogue and you actually see almost none of it. There's also no visual sexuality to the game unless you count these thighs, and you probably should, and there aren't any hot coffee scenes to worry about either. It does come up that it's common for the humans and mascots to mingle their dingles, so make of that what you will, but I'm pretty sure the main character is Ace. Anyway, it's a story of violence and greed and betrayal, but unlike a lot of games with a focus on organized crime, PMA isn't a power fantasy unless you fantasize about driving around as a demigod in the form of a pickup truck. She's slow to get moving and doesn't turn all that well, but she's basically unstoppable and you don't have to worry about blowing up. You also don't have to worry about trees or pedestrians because they don't really exist, and I appreciate that because otherwise driving around would be a nightmare. There's a small collection of upgrades that you can find for the truck, and these are really nice, but if you're not careful, it can be easy to default to flying everywhere, and when that happened, I found myself going into that checklist mentality where I wasn't really enjoying the game, I was just cleaning the map. So I would say be mindful of that if you're enjoying the experience before you get the ability to fly. I do really appreciate that ability being there, and once you get tired of puttering around, it's really nice to have an option to quickly move across the map along with the fast travel system, but it'll suck some of the fun out of the game if that's all you're doing. Man, there's a lot of nail art in this game, but who would care about that stuff? Ooh, hey, that actually looks pretty cool. Damn, girl! Get it, Pinky? Alright, I was wrong. That's probably enough about transportation, though. You play as a truck, but inside that truck is a man, and inside that man is a heart of gold. It's kind of a nesting doll situation, or a turducken. When the game opens, Michi, also known as the janitor, is already a legend in the Japanese underworld. He's a stone-faced reaper with a broom, but when he's forced to choose between a big pile of money and his adopted brother, he puts his family first. This sends the rest of his family into massive debt, and after he cuts off his finger, the family matriarch chooses to fake his death and send him away to try to make the money back before they're all murdered. And these aren't spoilers, this is the introductory cutscene. Throughout the entirety of Promise Mascot Agency, Michi won't be doing any violence, and in some ways that's kind of a bummer because this setup would have worked just as well in any Yakuza game, and I would have loved to take Ichiban to this town. I think the thing that will determine how much you enjoy PMA is how much you like the parts of Vice City that I left out of that analogy, and how much you care for what the developers brought in to replace it. If you were a big fan of the Grand Theft Auto third-person shooting, why, that shit sucks. But also, if that's what you want out of a game, you may not care for this one. There are no theatrical action set pieces or shootouts with rival gangs. It's an intentionally chill experience that is meant to mirror the main character's own journey from a life of anger and violent crime into one of kindness and rehabilitation into a community that he doesn't initially want to be a part of. Instead of running from the police and helping old ladies with their groceries, the primary source of conflict in this game is Mascot events. And yes, I am struggling to make that sound interesting. Mascot events are the jobs that you send your employees on. This is your primary means to make money, but they also level up your mascot's life satisfaction, which is their personal experience bar, and filling it will unlock small scenes that advance their personal stories and increase their stats. Early in the game, you'll want to participate in as many of these mascot events as you can so that you can make that stockpile of money and use it to open up passive avenues of income. It matters because every day that passes in-game will have its own operating costs for the business, and early on, these can feel kind of rough. 600,000 yen a day for utilities? What the fuck? What is that in USD? Oh my god! Pinky, I think we're gonna have to kill this guy. But it's not hard to get ahead of it, and once you have built up your passive income, that'll more than pay for the daily costs, as well as the money that you're supposed to be sending back to your family. I thought that this was going to add a lot of tension onto what was initially a very relaxing game loop, but it wound up being pretty forgiving thanks to that passive income. When you send your mascots on events, there's a chance that something bad will happen, and when those things come up, you'll need to lean on your mascot heroes. It's kind of a one-player card battle, and I like deck building mechanics about as much as a vampire likes sunshine, but they still didn't dampen my enjoyment of the game that much. You can choose to not engage with them at all, and the cost of that isn't terribly steep, but you'll miss out on some bonus money and experience to level up your business. Still, they aren't really very difficult, and I found myself going into all of them anyway just to help out my little buddies. My biggest problem with the mascot events is really just that they interrupt me zoning out, driving around and collecting stuff. But they do help to break up the pacing, and I think the way that these systems interact was really well designed even if I don't personally like card games. Collecting stuff is optional, but I found myself wanting to do it anyway, even after I had finished the game. Partially because it's fun to check off all of the boxes, but also because the things that you collect are used to advance NPC side quests. Each NPC that you interact with, aside from the mayor, will give you a mascot hero card that you can use in those battles, and as you progress their side quests and finish their stories, you'll upgrade those hero cards to be much more powerful. Critically, they'll give you more resources back than they cost to play, and that will let you overcome more difficult events and therefore make more money. It worked really well that the reward for doing the thing that I liked to do made the thing that I didn't like to do much more enjoyable. And even though the mascot heroes themselves never actually show up in the fight, it did make me feel more connected to this place and this community than other side quests in other games usually do. Even without that bonus though, the NPCs and the mascots that you interact with are all well written and likable. There are a ton of goofy little interactions and jokes to see on your way through the game. I know I said I'd avoid spoilers, but as an example, and because I thought it was really funny, one of the NPCs that you help is the mother of another character that you interact with regularly. She runs the town's dockyard, I guess, and works with the seafood that the fishermen used to bring in to sell before the mayor ran the fish market out of business. Every time you talk to the mom, she's really flirty. She invites the main character to dinner and back to her house or whatever. So when you finish her questline and she gives you a new hero card, I thought it was way funnier than it had any right to be. And now I can tell Shiori that her mom gave me crabs. I guess the only thing left for me to really talk about is the audio of the game, and I do have a note here from early on in my playthrough that specifically says how much I was enjoying the music, but it is a very specific type of ambient and relaxing soundtrack, and I can understand if you're looking for something a little different. I suppose you could always just turn the music down a little and, oh yeah, there it is. Despite taking place in a setting full of political corruption and economic despair, it's a strangely hopeful game with a likable cast and an intentionally mellow game loop, and overall, it's a very nice way to spend a couple of hours when you need to relax with a podcast or your favorite video essayist. It's also not a terribly long game. How Long to Beat says 13 hours is an average, but I probably put like 25 into it just rolling around. You could do it a lot faster if you really wanted to, but I feel like that would be kind of against the spirit of the game. If you'd like to try it for yourself, you can grab a copy on Steam for $25, but it does go on sale for as low as $19. Oh, and I should put in here that the video that convinced me to finally give the game a try was this one from Nerds on Safari. I try to keep things chill, but that dude puts a ton of effort and energy into his videos, and I think they deserve way more attention.
A video game in which you are the janitor, a disgraced Yakuza muscle boy, sent to clean the toilets of a small-town university until it's revealed that you're secretly a mathematical genius, and Robin Williams was your best friend the whole time. Guys, I think you may have spilled some Goodwill Hunting on the script. Sweet.
So check them out if you'd like to hear a slightly different take on this very fun game, or there are many other reviews that I can also highly recommend. My personal favorite is probably still Salako, and I'll link them in the description. That's all I've got for this one. Take care of yourself, and as always, thanks for watching. Later.